I want you to think about the last time you walked on a beach. Sand between your toes, shallow water, maybe you waded in, maybe you walked along the bottom, completely normal, completely safe. Now I want to tell you something about that sand, specifically about what might be inside it. Right now, in shallow coastal water all over the world, in the Mediterranean, off the coast of Florida, in the Atlantic, in the Pacific, in waters people vacation in every single year, there is a fish buried under the sand. You cannot see it. It cannot be seen. It is lying completely still, completely covered, with only its eyes and its mouth at the surface pointing upward waiting. And here is the part that separates this fish from every other ambush predator in the ocean. It is not just hidden. It is venomous and electric at the same time. The same animal, simultaneously venomous and electric, and it is under the sand you are standing on. This is the Stargazer fish, and by the time this video ends you will never walk in shallow coastal water the same way again. The Stargazer belongs to the family Uranoscopidae. The name comes from the Greek Oranos, meaning sky, and Skopos, meaning watcher, sky watcher, named because its eyes are positioned on top of its head, pointing directly upward, always watching what is above it, always waiting. The family Uranoscopidae contains approximately 51 known species distributed across the Atlantic, Pacific, and Indian Oceans, making them one of the more widespread ambush predators in the marine world. They have been documented in the fossil record going back tens of millions of years. The fundamental body plan, eyes on top, mouth facing upward, body design for burial, has remained essentially constant across that entire span, which tells you something important. This design worked. It worked so well that evolution had essentially no reason to revise it. While other fish species develop speed, or schooling behavior, or elaborate displays, or complex social structures, the Stargazer sat in the sand and ate for tens of millions of years without changing, because it did not need to. And the combination of features it developed over that time, the burial behavior, the venom, the electric organs, the upward-facing ambush strike, represents one of the most comprehensively armed ambush systems in the shallow ocean. Not the largest, not the most dramatic, but arguably the most thoroughly equipped for its specific purpose. To understand the Stargazer, you need to understand what it looks like, because the body is not accidental. Every feature is a precise solution to a specific problem. The head is large relative to the body, flattened on top, almost rectangular viewed from above. The mouth faces directly upward, not forward, not at an angle, straight up. The eyes sit on the very top of the skull, set close together, pointing upward and slightly forward. The body tapers behind the head, cylindrical, muscular, built for one motion and one motion only, a single explosive upward lunge. The skin is covered in a fine pattern of scales and markings, browns, tans, mottled patterns that, when the fish is partially buried in sand or gravel, make it genuinely, completely invisible. This is not approximate camouflage. This is precise, calibrated camouflage designed for the specific color and texture of sandy and gravelly seafloor in coastal waters. A Stargazer lying still in sand with only its eyes and mouth at the surface is, for practical purposes, undetectable. Not difficult to see. Undetectable. Now add to this one specific behavioral detail that makes the camouflage even more effective. The Stargazer can actively bury itself. It does not wait for sand to cover it. Using undulating movements of its pectoral fins combined with a specific sinking motion of the body, the fish uses a unique combination of its pectoral fins and body movements to move through the water. It actively works itself into the sediment, sinking gradually, deliberately, until only the top of the head is at the surface. The process takes seconds. A fish that was visible one moment is invisible the next, buried, armed, waiting. Now the weapons. Because the Stargazer does not rely on camouflage alone, it has two independent weapon systems built into its body. The first is venom. Above each pectoral fin, the large paired fins on either side of the body, the Stargazer has a venomous spine. 2 spines total, one on each side. These spines are enclosed in a venomous sheath, a pocket of tissue containing venom-producing cells. When something makes contact with the spine, either a predator attempting to eat the Stargazer, or a human foot stepping on one, the spine penetrates the contact point and venom is delivered. The venom itself causes immediate, intense pain. Documented human encounters describe the pain as sharp, burning, and disproportionately severe relative to the size of the wound. Swelling follows rapidly. The affected area becomes inflamed and tender. In most cases for healthy adults, the venom is not life-threatening. But here is where the clinical description understates what actually happens. The pain of a stargazer sting has been compared in published medical literature to the pain of a stingray sting, which is widely considered one of the most painful marine animal injuries a human can experience. Fishermen in the Mediterranean who have been dealing with stargazer encounters for centuries have a specific, culturally recognized category of marine injury associated with this fish, not because it kills, but because it hurts badly enough and consistently enough that it became part of the folk knowledge of every coastal fishing community in its range. That is a significant threshold to cross. Medical attention is sometimes required for symptom management, and yet most people who live in areas where stargazers are common have never heard of them. The venom alone would make the stargazer remarkable. But it is not the stargazer's only weapon. Behind the eyes in a modified region of the skull, the stargazer has electric organs, specifically electroplaques, modified muscle cells that have lost their contractile function and instead generate electrical charge. The mechanism is the same one used by the electric eel and the electric ray biological batteries, essentially, created from repurposed muscle tissue. The stargazer's electric discharge has been measured at up to 50 volts. To put that in practical terms, a standard household electrical outlet in the United States operates at 120 volts. The stargazer produces approximately 40% of that voltage. From a fish the size of a large potato, buried in sand, the electric discharge serves two documented functions. First, stunning or disorienting prey that comes within range of the upward-facing mouth. A fish swimming above the buried stargazer, within striking distance, receives an electric pulse through the water. The pulse is not enough to kill it, but it is enough to produce temporary disorientation, a brief window of confusion during which the stargazer's upward lunge can complete. Second, defense. A predator attempting to bite the stargazer from above receives an electric shock on contact. Combined with the venomous spines on the sides, attacking a stargazer from any angle involves encountering either venom, electricity, or both. There is no safe approach vector. Here is the detail that I think deserves emphasis. Most animals have one primary defense mechanism, venom or electricity, not both. The stargazer has both, simultaneously, in the same body, under the sand, in water shallow enough that children wade in it. Now the hunt itself. Because the venom and electricity are primarily defensive, the hunting mechanism is something else. The stargazer buries itself and waits. This is patient waiting, not minutes, but potentially hours. Studies of captive stargazers have documented individuals remaining buried and motionless for extended periods, responding only to the specific stimulus of prey entering their strike zone. Everything else, water movement, light changes, vibrations from distant sources, is ignored. The stargazer is waiting for one specific thing: a fish or crustacean to pass within approximately one body length directly above its upward-facing mouth. When that happens, the strike. The stargazer's upward lunge has been studied using high-speed photography. The entire strike from initial movement to prey capture occurs in approximately 30 milliseconds. 30 milliseconds. For reference, the average human blink takes between 150 and 400 milliseconds. The stargazer completes its entire hunting strike in roughly 1/5 the time it takes a human to blink. The mouth opens simultaneously with the lunge, and here is the detail that makes this particularly effective: the rapid opening of the large upward-facing mouth creates a suction force, not just a physical bite, a vacuum. The prey is pulled toward the mouth by negative pressure created by the rapid expansion of the oral cavity. Even prey that was not directly in the strike path can be pulled into range by that suction. The combination upward lunge plus suction plus electric disorientation means that a fish, swimming in the general vicinity of a buried stargazer, has a very limited set of options. One of the most brutally efficient hunting systems in shallow water, built entirely around one principle: be invisible, wait, strike once. Here is what genuinely bothers me about the stargazer: not the venom, not the electricity, the distribution. Stargazers have been documented in coastal waters across a genuinely staggering geographic range. The Mediterranean Sea, where millions of tourists swim every year, the Atlantic coast of the United States from New York to Florida, the Gulf of Mexico, the Caribbean, the Pacific coast of the Americas, the waters around Japan, Australia, South Africa. They inhabit sandy and muddy substrates in relatively shallow coastal zones, typically between 1 meter and about 150 meters of depth. 1 meter. That is shallower than most public swimming areas, shallower than the shallow end of most public beach access points. And here is the specific combination of facts that I think deserves to be said plainly. The stargazer is invisible in the sand. It is in shallow water. It stings when stepped on. It is electric. And the vast majority of people who swim or wade in its habitat have no idea it exists. Fishermen in the Mediterranean have a phrase for it. Loosely translated, it means the one that looks up at you. They know it. They respect it. They handle stargazers with specific care gloves, tools, deliberate technique, because experience has taught them what casual tourists do not know. Something is watching you from under the sand, not maliciously, not because it is hunting you, because that is simply where it lives, and you walk through its living room. There is one more feature of the stargazer that most people never hear about, and it is the feature that when you understand it completes the picture of what this animal actually is. Some species of stargazer, specifically within the genus Astroscopus, have a worm-like appendage inside the mouth, a fleshy, elongated structure that can be extended and moved independently through the opening of the upward-facing mouth. It looks exactly like a worm, a small, wriggling worm, visible to anything swimming above. And when small fish or crustaceans see what appears to be a worm sitting on the seafloor, they approach to eat it. The stargazer is not just buried in sand with camouflage. It is actively luring prey toward its mouth with a decoy. Bait, a fish that produces electricity, injects venom through spines, buries itself invisibly in sand, and uses a false worm as active bait. Every single feature pointing toward one outcome. Something swims close and does not swim away. This is not a simple predator. This is a system, a completely integrated, multiply-redundant hunting and defense system that has been refined over tens of millions of years of evolutionary pressure in shallow coastal environments worldwide. And it fits inside a fish you could hold in 2 hands. The stargazer is not famous. You will not find it in children's ocean books. It does not appear in major nature documentaries the way great white sharks or anglerfish do. It does not have a cultural mythology around it the way octopuses have. It is just there, in the sand, in coastal water worldwide, venomous, electric, invisible, patient, armed with a worm-shaped decoy, waiting for something to come close enough. And it has been doing this in essentially the same form for tens of millions of years, in the same shallow coastal zones where humans have been swimming for the entirety of our species' existence. We have walked through its territory for 100,000 years, and most people have never heard its name. That is not a horror story. That is a reminder. The ocean does not announce itself. It does not warn you. It does not put up signs. It simply exists, patient, armed, invisible, in the sand under your feet. If this is the kind of content you come here for, the real documented truth about the world we live on, then you already know what to do. Subscribe, because there are so many more of these waiting. Every single one true. Every single one already out there, right now, in the sand.